Well, hello everyone, it's Kari back again on the channel to share with you a fun Valentine that I thought was super cute. Today I'm going to be using this stencil and the Eieio frame die alpha from Missing Stamps. I'm also using the frames from that. So we're going to start with this layering stencil. This is 2 layers. So you get the socks and then you get this layer that has the details on some of the socks. It's so cute. Today I thought we'd try a bunch of different ideas with it. I'm going to start with some different colors of inks. Today I have these inks in pinks, and I thought they would be fun for our Valentine socks. So I'm going to tape down my panel, which is an A2 sized cardstock panel. So it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I'm going to add the sock stencil over the top and use my magnet to hold it down. I'm starting with the ballet slippers ink here, and I'm just going to ink all over those socks to get a nice soft pink sock. And I think that's so cute. And now I'm going to add the details over the top, and I'm just going to use a darker shade of ink for this. So this is the Raspberry Bliss. It's a beautiful hot pink, and I thought it would be fun. So I'm going to add that right over the top just like this. So adding inks on top of each other with the lighter one below and the darker one on the top really creates a fun look. So look at that. It's so cute. For the second one, I'm going to do the same thing starting out with inks. This time I'm using the bubblegum shade of ink, so it's a little bit darker than the ballet slipper. And I'm going to just start with this, and then I'm going to add some paste over the top. So once we have that all down, and I like the darkness of that, I'm going to add over this detail stencil, just like that, hold it down with my magnet. And then I've got a couple different pastes that I could try. So I've got some sparkly ones. I've got a white paste as well. Use whatever you have in your stash. I love this one here. I'm going to start out with the white, but I'm also going to do a red sparkle one on my next panel. So I'm just using my Nuvo spatula here to add that all over the top, and I'm trying to get it as nice and even as I can. You could bring in your stencil pal, which is kind of like a scraper, if you have that, or to make it a little more even. Today I'm just using my spatula tool here, and that worked just fine. So any excess I'm going to put back into the jar, and then I'll show you the reveal here. Now you want to make sure to clean all of your stencils and your supplies right away so it doesn't dry on. But look at that. Isn't that cute with the white? And there's a little bit of a pearl sheen to this one here. So look at the difference. Totally different looks, but both really fun. Now here's where I'm going to add the details in kind of a glittery red. Now my glitter red paste is getting a little bit old, but I'm still making it work. I'm going to use all of that up. So let's show you this one right here. And I got a little bit of overage on some of those details, but that's okay. This is still going to work great for the panel that I'm cutting out. Now I've used this stencil with the embossing pads and ran that through my die cutting machine, and I got this really great stencil embossed look. It's so cool. And now I'm going to cut some of these letters out of some glittery foam. So I'm going to have it spell perfect match, and then I'm bringing in this beautiful stamp, heart stamp. It's the SWAK heart stamp dies, and I'm going to use that for part of my sentiment. So now this part is a little bit tedious, but I decided I wanted a black shadow behind each of my glittery letters. And so I'm going to go ahead and glue down those glittery letters to a black die cut. And then I'm bringing in the Punny Farm Alpha stamps, which has 2 different sizes. So that's really awesome. I'm going to use the smaller size here to stamp out my sentiment. So I'm stamping out the A first at the very bottom of the heart, and then I'm going to stamp out the we're, but there's no apostrophe in the stamp set. So I'm just going to draw one on. It's super simple to do with a Sharpie, but if you don't put that in there, it could have a totally different meaning. We were a perfect match, but no, we're a perfect match is what I want to say. So I'm going to cut out a frame with that scalloped frame to go behind this, and then I'm going to cut out a panel from the socks with part of that frame from the frame die. So see how it's going to fit perfectly there? And I purposely cut it off center so I would have some extra socks to cut out and use for the card. So I'm gluing this down here and starting to put this card together. And I just wanted to show you some of the techniques I have. So I've laid everything out, but to put them on faster, I'm using some low tack tape and I'm picking all of the letters up on a word at one time. And then I'm going to use the glue to glue them down and then put them back down all in one go. Now you can see the glitter letters do not want to stick. So something I found to be a little bit easier was to tape down or to use the magnet to hold down one side of the tape and then my finger to hold the other side and then add small little dots so that the glue was not picking up those letters. And this worked okay for me. And it definitely is a lot faster to do it this way. So now I'm going to go ahead and pick that up and place it down on my panel, tape that down, and I'm pulling the tape off right away. So if I need to rearrange any of those letters, I have time to do that because the glue is not quite dry. So see, I'm going to just kind of play around with that a little bit. Now I'm using some foam pop dots here to pop up the sentiment off of that background and then pop up a little sock on the top there. And we'll put that right there. And I thought it needed one more thing, so I'm going to add a little die cut heart and one of the lips die cut from that same SWAK heart stamp die. And that's going to finish our first card. I'll add that to our card base. And then I'm going to move on to card number 2. So of course I had all of those panels I had already stenciled and added some paste to, so I wanted to create cards with those as well. Here's our first card. Look how fun that looks with all of that dimension and the glittery letters. You could also spell a perfect pair if you wanted to. So for my second card, I'm using this set that says, I love you more than socks, which I thought was super cute. And I cut out another heart and I'm going to selective stamp part of that sentiment. So the first part, I love you more, I'm going to stamp at the top of the heart. Then I'll clean off my stamp and move that down and stamp just the rest of the sentiment, which is more than socks. And I did that to make it fit on the heart. You could easily cut apart your stamp and stamp it that way. But if I can not cut apart my stamps, I like that usually better. But I have been known to cut apart stamps occasionally, so you can do it either way. So this one I'm going to put on that glittery background there with the red glitter paste. And I'm going to pop that up and then I die cut it out with the frames and made a red frame behind that. But look how big it was on my card base. So I could make a smaller card if I wanted to, or I could use the rest of that stenciled sock for the background. And I decided to do that. So I'm going to cut that down a little, add a red behind that. So we're going to have multiple layers of red, then a stencil sock, then red. So this is going to be really fun. In the end, it's going to have multiple frames. Then I added a few clay hearts that I had in my stash. And this also is very strategic because I placed some of the hearts over some of my problem areas on my stencil, like this one right here. And that is just one way to get around some of the mistakes that you might have noticed more, but now you can barely tell. So there's our second card. I love you more than socks. I think that's super cute. I am going to add one sock to the heart here. So I cut that out with my scissors, added it with some foam. You could also add a sock to the inside if you wanted to of your card. But there's our 2 cards for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and these projects. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back real soon with more cards to share, more inspiration. We'll see you then. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.